Le Bleu go to the final. That was the worst French accent ever, but don't judge me on that. Judge me on this world-class breakdown of this game. Kind of boring game, not gonna lie. That's my world-class analysis there. But France go through to the World Cup final. It saddens me that we only now have 3 games left, including the third place playoffs that no one really cares that much about unless you're in it, and then you kind of care. But at the moment, France will take on the winner of the Croatia-England game, which is going to take place tomorrow. Either way, whoever faces this France team, they are going to take a hell of a beating. And I don't mean it's going to take a lot to beat them. I don't mean that they'll give out a hell of a beating. You can take that term either way. I think that France they're the team to beat in this competition. They're so organised, so mature for being so young. It wasn't the prettiest game. A lot of strategic time wasting towards the end, which I'm sure is frustrating for Belgium, but teams do that. Standouts for me, Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba is a frustrating player in Manchester United because he's a Rolls-Royce type of player where he's a luxury when you're winning, and he's beautiful to watch in the way that he possesses the ball. He's for being such a tall, kind of lanky player, he's got Zidane-esque techniques about his play that I have always liked to watch, especially when I think he was in his prime Juventus at certain moments. But that same player that we've seen at Juventus, we see with France. Confident, mature, the leadership role that he's taken on at this team at such a young age, in terms of what you'd expect from someone to be a leader, it's remarkable, and he deserves a lot of the credit of the way this team functions. The way that they tick in the middle of the park. They are a pack of hyenas when they lose the ball. Every one of them has that N'Golo Kante-esque viciousness in the way that they hunt the ball back after they lose it. They drop possession sometimes, they're sloppy sometimes in the middle of the park, but they're tenacious in the way that they recover. And that's what's going to be the toughest against any opponent. Because when you have class like that of Antoine Griezmann and Kylian Mbappe and Pogba and the likes of those players going forward, that's always going to be a tough thing to try and defend against. But if you're able to at least win that midfield, then you give yourself a chance when you're playing against France. But out of the teams that are left, England and Croatia, I don't think they touch France in regards to the midfield. Even if Croatia have arguably the three best centre midfielders creativity-wise left in the tournament with Modric, Rakitic and Kovacic, they still are going to have such a tough time finding space. Look at Kevin De Bruyne, arguably one of the best players with space and time in the world at the moment, and he just was nullified today. He had moments of brilliance, moments of where he was given a little bit more time than he should have been, because that happens when you work tirelessly. Players are not always going to be able to close them down, and he was able to make something happen. But the way that they snuffed out Belgium's midfield, forcing them to kind of reconsider their approach. I don't know why Mertens came on so late. I would have had Mertens and Batshuayi on at the 55-60 minute mark, because it was the same thing that was happening. They couldn't get service to Lukaku. Hazard was forced to drop so deep that even when he beat a player, he was running into another player. This is simple things football-wise. I'd expect Roberto Martinez to be better in understanding that that was always going to be the way to beat France, was to get it wider, higher up the park and whip in those crosses. They had dominant players in the air like Lukaku and Fellaini, and only once Mertens come on, that they started to cause problems with his wicked delivery. Martinez is going to have a lot to answer for. You expect your managers to make those decisions earlier. Get Batshuayi in there, take out Chadli much earlier in that game, take out Dembele much earlier in that game, because they weren't doing enough. Take out Witsel in the middle of the park and put someone forward. It's a World Cup semi-final, man. You're not going to, and even in the last 10 minutes, knocking it around at the back, it frustrates me. I get it. You want to score the way that you've scored goals in the last minutes of those games. The counter-attack against Japan, it will be memorable. But there's a reason now that Belgium still haven't made a World Cup final in their nation's histories, because that's not going to work against this France team. If you're going to score, you have to score ugly. You have to get the ball into the box, pump it in there, and just rely on the physicality of your team and stop trying to outplay them, even in the last 10-15 minutes. Because France are smarter in that way, and they draw the foul and they play it into the corners. And when you've got Mbappe in the counter-attack, you're just going to have to risk it at some point. So I was a little disappointed in how they approached the last 5-minute game of the game. People could say it's a testament to how they've played. That's fine. Well, I don't think that the way you play the tournament necessarily needs to be the way you get back into the game. You can get back into the game by scoring a scrappy long ball into the box. Their best chances came from balls into the box. Lukaku disappeared far too easy for me. For how good he was against Brazil, he disappeared in this game. Especially up against Umtiti, who, whilst got the goal, and credit to him, makes mistakes back there. There was a moment where Lukaku expected Umtiti to clear the ball and it hit off him and he wasn't prepared. So after that happens, you need to be anticipating that he's never going to get to the ball. As a striker, you need to expect that he's not going to get it, and you have to be ready to work off of that. De Bruyne pings this beautiful pass from just inside the France half, right over the head of Umtiti, and Lukaku's 2 steps behind, because he's anticipating that Umtiti's going to get that ball. You can't do that, man. Not at the World Cup semi-final. Not at that stage. Frustrating, because I actually thought Belgium had a lot to offer this tournament, and yeah, they can be proud of a semi-final, but their neighbours prove once again that they are the better team, and France go through to yet another World Cup final, while Belgium, the golden era of these players, are left to lick their wounds once more. Who will join them? I'm not going to say who I want to join because I'm Scottish and you can already assume that, but we'll see what happens, and I'll be back tomorrow. Ciao.